This is what most Americans innocently put into their bodies these days, and most alarmingly, into the bodies of their children. And it's no coincidence that Americans die earlier than Canadians or Germans or Italians or Japanese or Koreans or Australians or most any other comparable country. And it wasn't always that way. Until the early 1990s, our life expectancy was the same or better than other developed countries. Then, suddenly, more and more Americans began suffering.
Suddenly, just, kind of happened.
From chronic diseases, from obesity, cancer, diabetes.
Well, hell, those are bad. I don't like that. Well, I don't want cancer or diabetes. Diabetes. I remember that. Wilfred Brimley. Diabetes. Yeah, don't want cancer or diabetes. Let's continue.
Kidney disease, Alzheimer's,
It just
heart
goes
disease,
on.
and all kinds of autoimmune diseases. Our maternal mortality rate soared to the highest of any developed country on earth.
Whoa. Well, no wonder women stopped at, would you want to have a baby if you're probably going to die? Can we fix that, please? How do we fix that?
Earth.
I have 7 children, y'all. 7. You know what we tried to do? You know why we have so many live babies? And my wife was able to have 7 without somebody ripping out her guts because they just didn't like how many children we have. We had most of them at home. Yeah, we got the midwife and we got a bunch of other ladies in here. And Daddy ordered Thai food and helped support Mommy. It was awesome.
Same with infant mortality. Like the frog in the slowly boiling water, we didn't really notice as we got sicker and sicker. We've grown now to accept chronic disease conditions as normal. But now, in 2024, we're finally waking up to this cataclysm and we're asking ourselves, how?
Whoever accepted this as normal? Like, seriously. I mean, maybe there's somebody out there who said this is all normal. This is all fine. Like, no, nobody accepted this as normal. What really happened was we all knew that it was, we just did not know how to fix it or exactly what was so screwed up. And okay, so let's get right down into this. Let's get right down into it. Everybody knew that somebody was trying to screw us. But nobody had any power to do anything about it. We just kept voting for people who said that they were going to fix stuff, and nothing ever got fixed. Which is, hey, finally. At least somebody's actually continuing to say the thing after they've gotten into a position of power. Like, he didn't just switch sides all of a sudden. Nice.
How in the world did this happen? A big part of it is our diet. Restaurants that serve contaminated food are fined or shut down. But when it's the government that approves the poison-starved food, a few people get very, very rich, and the toxins end up in every supermarket aisle. Let me show you what I mean. Doritos, Cheez-Its, Captain Crunch, gummy bears. Everyone knows that these are junk foods, so maybe you wouldn't be too surprised to see that the ingredients include a lot of poisons, including a harmful yellow dye called Tartrazine, or yellow dye number 5. What you may not know is that this dye was originally made out of the sludge that's left over when you turn coal into coke for blast furnaces. It's called coal tar, and I've actually sued many big industries for legacy contamination of coal tar all around the country because it's so toxic and it's so harmful to the environment and human beings. A century ago, it was just an obnoxious industrial byproduct that everybody was trying to figure out ways to get rid of.
And they thought they would put that in the food, huh? I wonder who came up with that idea.
they did that was by paving roads. But then a British chemist figured out that the coal tar could be used to derive fabric dye. And if fabric dye, why not food? Food manufacturers began using it to cover up the discoloration of low-quality foods that they wanted to pass off on unsuspecting customers. You know, back then, this yellow dye, Tartrazine, causes tumors, asthma, developmental
the honey
delays,
mustard.
neurological damage, ADD, ADHD, hormone disruption, gene damage, anxiety,
Oh my
depression,
freaking God.
intestinal injuries.
Wait a minute. I had some of that. What was that? ADHD. That's me right there. Oh, that's right. I don't have my pointer capture on. It doesn't go that high up. Here's what I can do. I can point, and then I can just. There we go. That's me right there. ADHD. Oh, that's so cool. I love doing that.
Anxiety, depression, intestinal injuries. Well, we know it now. We've known this for decades. That's why Tartrazine is heavily restricted in other countries. In some countries, foods with Tartrazine have a warning label that it may cause ADHD in children. Today, it's made from petroleum, not coal tar. Either way, it's crazy to add this to your kids' favorite foods. It doesn't even change the flavor. This yellow dye isn't just in junk food. It's in the foods that we consider healthy. It's in everyday kids' snacks like popcorn, mac and cheese, food snacks. It's in sports drinks like Gatorade and so-called vitamin water. It's even added to chicken broth,
vitamin
corn,
water,
the pickles, the mustard, and the yogurt. And so, of course, our kids get sick. And we lovingly feed them chewable vitamins, which have, surprise, Tartrazine. And so the cycle continues until the coughs and asthma kick in, at which point you go to pick up some cough syrup. And yeah, you guessed it, Tartrazine. I've been picking on Tartrazine today, but that's just one of at least 100 chemical poisons that our health agencies allow into our children's food. I can make a video just like this to talk about Red 40, BHA, BHD.
I would like those videos, please.
Chemical after
Can we
chemical,
make those videos?
On and on. If just one of them can cause all of these problems, imagine what they're doing in combination. That's never been studied. If we took all these chemicals out, our nation would get healthier immediately. We'd have fewer sick days. We'd have better focus. We'd have less anxiety. Our kids would learn more easily.
Can I get some real food,
We'd
please?
lose weight. We'd have more energy. We'd have fewer tumors and longer lives. It's not all dark. Over the past 16 years, the government has banned 8 chemical additives that cause cancer, genetic damage, asthma, and many of the other health conditions, as Tartrazine does. And you know what's interesting? All 8 of those crucial steps forward in our kids' health were taken.
To all those food producers out there who are combing the internet to find out what people are saying about Kraft and Nabisco and all of that bull crap, General Mills, please, we would like real food with none of that chemical bull crap. Thank you.
Taken under President Trump. But the Democrats who claim to be all about health care have stood by watching other countries ban these poisons and make our kids sick, asthmatic, hyperactive, and depressed.
See, I don't know where all of these like magical Democrats who were supposedly like against poisoning people and killing people and trafficking people, like and war. Where were these people ever? I never met those Democrats. I never saw them on TV. I never read their articles. They've always been warmongers who want to kill people, especially babies. I mean, that's what they do. I've never met these other Democrats because as far as I know, they've never existed. Not since 2008.
They left them on every supermarket shelf in America. They even used your tax money to put them in your kids' school lunch. So their big food and their big ag donors probably gave them all that golden handshake and the big money hug. And their big pharma donors probably called them up and thanked them also, because now they're going to make billions selling Adderall, Prozac, and rescue inhalers. Enough is enough. President Trump and I are going to stop the mass poisoning of American children. Together, we're going to make America healthy again.
Thank you. We find out if it's actually happening. Oh, well, there we go. The next video.
Thank you, Speaker Schultz. Thank you to Dr. Mark Hyman, who's my friend.
Thank you to all those dudes.
And partner on these issues for over 20 years.
All right.
Thanks, Vonnie Harry, who's been an extraordinary leader. And then Marty McCary, I'm so grateful that you agreed to join the administration.
We're all grateful.
And Jay Bhattacharya, will you guys come up here?
Can we get to the stuff? What did you do? I want to know what you did. How did you make it better?
We have an amazing team at HHS. When my uncle was president in the 1960s, we had the healthiest people in the world. And
I've seen
one
the
of
videos.
the basic
It's
assumptions of our country was that because we were robust people, because we were vigorous, because we were tough, we had what my uncle called this beef jerky toughness, that was responsible for our country being the land of the brave and the home of the free, the greatest industrial power in the world, the wealthiest country. We owned half the wealth on earth when my uncle was president, and part of that was because of the vigor of our society. And that's one of the reasons he started the Presidential Council on Physical Fitness, because he saw that he felt that Americans were getting soft, and it was going to steal from us and erode all of our leadership, our moral authority, and our values, and our role as an exemplary nation. And since his death, we've had this extraordinary chronic disease epidemic. When my uncle was president, 3% of American kids had chronic disease. Today, it's around 60%. And these are a broad category, the ones that Marty mentioned, like ADHD, the neurological disorders, ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, Tourette syndrome, narcolepsy, ASD, autism. All of these are injuries that I never heard of when I was a kid. They were not part of the nomenclature. They weren't part of the dialogue. There was zero spent in this country treating chronic disease when my uncle was president. Today, it's about $1.8 trillion annually. It's bankrupting our nation. 74% of American kids cannot qualify for military service. Oh, how are we going to maintain our global leadership?
You found out about the ADHD
with
and they're
such
like,
a sick
no.
population? We have all these autoimmune diseases, these exotic diseases. Again, I never heard of juvenile diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, Crohn's disease,
Yeah, 95 percentile on that ASVAB
were
thing.
just unknown when I was a kid. I never knew anybody with a peanut allergy. I never knew anybody with a food allergy. Why do 5 of my 7 kids have allergies? I never knew of anybody with eczema. I knew of a very small number of children with asthma, but that has exploded as well today.
For pollen. Everybody gets that one.
Our fertility is dropping dramatically. Teenagers in this country today have the same testosterone levels as 68-year-old men. Our girls are reaching puberty 6 years early, from 10 to 14 years old. And this is existential for our country. And we have to address it. I want to commend the food companies for working with us to achieve this agreement or this settlement. And when I went in about a month ago,
are we finally going to get
with
to
the
it?
Food companies, I was talking with my staff about these petroleum-based dyes, and I said, if they want to add petroleum, if they want to eat petroleum, they ought to add it themselves at home. But they shouldn't be feeding it to the rest of us.
Themselves at home, yeah.
And without our knowledge or consent. And unfortunately, we're we're going to get rid of the dyes, and then one by one, we're going to get rid of every ingredient and additive in food that we can legally address. One of the problems is that the industry, which all of these industries, cast a dark shadow historically over this agency. And there's so many conflicts that we are now systematically eliminating. That has allowed them to suppress the science. There's shockingly few studies, even on food dyes, and on all these other ingredients as well. And Jay Bhattacharya, who is here and who is running the director of NIH, is now narrowly targeting these kind of food additives for scientific study. So that one by one we can start eliminating them where they can. Where we can't, there's things that we'll never be able to eliminate, like sugar. And sugar is poison. And Americans need to know that. It is poisoning us. It's giving us a diabetes crisis. When I was a kid, I always say this. A typical pediatrician would see one case of diabetes in his lifetime. Today, it's 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door. In our most recent study from NIH, 38% of American teens, it's half our adult population. This is existential. We are spending as much on mitochondrial disorders like diabetes as we spend on our military budget. We can't continue to exist like this. And the problem is industry is making money keeping us sick. As Jay pointed out, ADHD is associated with all these behavioral disorders. But those disorders are treated not by changing our diet, providing medications to treat our kids. And they get medicated and that's the only solution. And
I took a bunch of them.
I would point out
I was
that
on Ritalin
there
and
is
Adderall,
part of the
and then
etiology
they
of
went,
these diseases
then
is
they
a
went for
kind of
the
media malpractice.
antidepressants. They went
Mass
Wellbutrin,
psychosis that has our media not talking about this.
Terra.
And one of
That was
the
actually the best
possible
one.
reasons for that
No, let's
is
face
the
it,
amount of
Adderall
money
was the
that's
best.
coming from the pharmaceutical companies into our media and from these food companies for the advertising. And the advertising has at least plays a factor. So that revenue, that extraordinary revenue stream, in disabling their capacity or their inclination for skepticism and for critical thinking. So Americans don't know what they're eating, and they don't know the implications of those things. And for those products,
started
Mark
looking at
Hyman
ingredients,
says in his book,
There's not much you can eat anymore.
10-day sugar detox
There's like
diet,
no
which I'll
food
give
in
a
the
plug
food
to. It's a
market.
very good book. He talks about how dangerous sugar
You're
is.
like basically
It's
gotta
addictive as
walk
crack.
around the outside
And our children
perimeter.
are addicted
You get your
to it
fruits
from
and
when they're little
veggies,
kids.
you get your meat and
Our
your fish, and you
agency
get your
recommends,
dairy
I
and your
think,
cheese,
a
and then
huge amount of sugar
you're out
for
the
kids
door.
from when they're born.
All that shit in the
And
middle
it's
is
hurting
kill
them,
you.
and it's addicting them, and it's changing their taste buds so that they crave it. And it's disabling our population. So for those ingredients that we can't ban legally, we're going to start informing Americans about what they're eating. And we're going to try to work with Congress and the
I
White
had a
House.
child say she hated
Make
me
sure that
when
we
I
have
told her
adequate
that we weren't going to
labeling
be eating
so mothers
gummy
who go
clusters
into the
anymore.
grocery
The
stores
Nerds gummy clusters.
know what is good for their children and what is not. When I went and spoke for the first time, and I met with the heads of all the food industry companies, one of the things that they said to us is that the worst thing for us is if we have a patchwork of legislation in all these different states, because then we're not capable of marketing nationally distributed products. I want to thank Speaker Schultz. I want to thank Governor Morrissey, and I visited many other governors in Virginia and West Virginia,
Because it was
and
something
Arizona,
There's
and
something like
Utah,
13
and
states that
and
passed their
other
own
states
laws
that are
banning
now
these
that are,
things.
that are having these local bans. But
Yep.
those bans have given us leverage to make demands in the food company, and the only reason that those companies, that
Go
those
West Virginia.
states
All right.
have banned these products is because of these ladies and millions of more across the country, the warrior moms who have powered the MAHA movement.
Yep. Let's get the crunchy moms out there in front. The right-wing
It's not
crunchy
the time
moms.
to stop. It's the time to redouble your efforts
Moms.
because we have them on the run now. And we are going to win this battle. And 4 years from now, we're going to have most of these products off the market, or you will know about them when you go in the grocery store. So I want to thank you.
Yeah, like if they properly labeled these things,
And
who the hell would
finally,
ever
and
eat
most
them,
importantly,
like,
I
ever
want to
again?
thank President Trump. President Trump often,
who's gonna
says
eat
that
it?
he's going to make America great, but he knows that
Never
not
touch it
make
again.
our country great again. If our country is weak, if we're not healthy,
I got the
if we're not
TRT
a
and
robust
working out.
people.
Trying
He says
to
that
sleep
he's going
better.
to restore the American dream. And a
Not always
healthy person has 1,000 dreams. The sick person only has one. And right now, there's 60% of the people in this country who have only one dream, that they can make it through a day without pain, with energy, without having to take medications. And we are going to change that for our country. And I want to thank the moms and thank President Trump
I'm good on
for
one
his
of those.
confidence in my
I
leadership
don't have any medication.
and for allowing
But
me
I
to
definitely
surround
got
myself
some
with such an
sores.
extraordinary team of scientists who are going
Especially
to
after
restore
workout days.
transparency to this agency.
Sore muscles.
We're
sore
going to
joints.
do replicated science. We're going to restore gold standard science so we know what's in our food and we can eliminate it. Thank you all very much.
Woo-hoo! All right, cool. Food dyes banned. That's freaking awesome. Now we just need to get a few more states to pass some other bills about, banning this, that, or the other. Let's ban the GMOs next.
Without pain, without...
No way.
This is what most Americans eat.
No, I don't want anything. Anyway, that was fun. Let's see how it looks.